Friends, let's do a brief discussion of a bidding question that I received. Let me find the proper window. It's not that easy. Here it is. Okay. So I was approached from a player that held the south cards, and look at the vulnerability. This is the bidding that he was facing. One diamond from east, one heart he bid. That's very non-controversial. One spade from west, and let it be noted that most players play that this one spade bid shows 5 because they would use a negative double with 4. And then partner bid 4 hearts. So one diamond, one heart, one spade, 4 hearts. 4 spades from east, and the player with the south cards asked me what did I think he should do. And my answer was that this is a very quick pass. That there should be no temptation whatsoever to bid anything else. When you have a balanced hand and the auction is competitive, it's very important for you not to get involved. And I know that the course in high-level competitive bidding that I am still developing, and this is a theme that will be discussed in some detail. That you should really, this is an indicator that most people don't give enough attention to, that the balanced nature of your hand. And so if somebody put a gun to my head and asked me what should I do besides passing, I would probably say, I can't do anything, man. I really must pass, so shoot. But the idea here is that you don't know how many defensive tricks you have. Somebody may be very short in diamonds, so you have one sure, almost sure trick in clubs, and maybe one trick in diamonds, and partner preempted, so there is no great expectation of a set of defeating 4 spades. And 5 hearts, even though not vulnerable, can be very expensive, particularly because even if there is no expectation of setting 4 spades, there is no guarantee that we won't set it either, because there may be no singletons anywhere. The auction put them under a lot of pressure. And by the way, that's the point of preempting. Most people think misguidedly, well, most people isn't overbid, many people think misguidedly that preempting is a way of, let's say, deciding whether to sacrifice or not. But the main goal of preempting is forcing a guess. And if you preempt and they guess, sometimes they will guess wrongly. And this may have happened here. Okay, so they may be overboard already. East is under pressure. He might have a hand with which he would not bid 4 spades without the preempt. So any, let's say, 13 or 14 high card point hand with 4 spades, which would raise to 2, maybe 3 spades without competition, now becomes squeezed in the bidding, becomes it's in a tough spot, because it's very important to raise partner in competition. And so that East hand with 13 or 14 high card points and 4 cards in spades, if he has some distribution, if he has a singleton heart, for instance, he will very likely bid 4 spades. And so they may be in 4 spades with, let's say, 14 opposites, 6 or 7. And so in that case, you might very well defeat 4 spades. So that sounds perhaps too commonsensical, but if you don't know whether you should sacrifice or double, pass is usually the best action. And what happened at the table was this, that North bid 5 hearts, looking at the vulnerability, and they were playing against weak players, as can be noticed by the fact that they were not doubled. But the main thing here is that North expected South to double with these cards here, and this is let's say less than ideal. If you look at the whole hand, North had a very heavy hand for the 4-heart bid. He might have bid 4 hearts with one less honor, so without the ace of spades he would bid 4 hearts, and probably even without the king of clubs as well. So with any 5-card support to partners over call, he should jump to 4 hearts. And so he had let's say 1.5 tricks more than he might have had. And so there's no compelling reason for him to sacrifice, unless we count that weakness of the opposition, which is a real thing. I respect that. When you're playing against really weak players, and you can take some liberties, especially because they usually will not double you. And so 5 hearts was a disaster if you look at it from a double dummy aspect, because you would make 2 diamonds, 2 clubs, and 1 spade. They go down 2 in 4 spades, and 5 hearts, of course, went down a bunch, losing 2 hearts, a spade, a club, and a diamond. So down 3. In other words, North-South might have gone for 500 against nothing, against a game that wouldn't make. And so this is a very big error on the part of North-South, but it is what it is. And the main lesson here, I think, is the one that I emphasized at the beginning. It was that you should try to refrain from taking extreme positions with balanced hands. That applies to both players here. So if North wants to bid anything over 4 spades, the right bid is double, showing a maximum for the 4-heart preemptive bid, some tricks, and then South can decide the double of 4 spades from North shouldn't be something like I have 2 or 3 trump tricks. It shouldn't be pure penalties. It should be I have a maximum and I expect them to go down in 4 spades, considering that I have a few tricks here. But if South was completely bereft of tricks, imagine South with something like 3 little spades, 4 little diamonds, 5 hearts of ace king, and a king of clubs. Then he would have perhaps half a trick, king of clubs, and maybe 1 trick in hearts if nobody roughs hearts, and some distribution, right? He would have a singleton somewhere, and in that case he might consider taking it out. But with the actual cards, both South and North should simply pass in 4 spades. It being met, if it were match points, it was not. By the way, this was in imps. But if it were match points, maybe doubling would be in order, but it should come from North in any case. South has a clear, very clear pass over 4 spades, and North might risk a double because he has some extras for his bidding. Okay, that was it for this edition of the bidding questions. Keep bringing them up. See you soon. Bye-bye. Oh, I just saw that this is a fail because I didn't share the screen. I'll let it begin again. Long disquisition about it. Cards that weren't seen.